This is in response to Billy's Talking Points memo from Thursday, April 30th, 2015. The Baltimore riots now leading to madness. Now, what Billy really wants to say is that any liberal pundit that wants to show any sympathy towards the black situation, the incredible amount of poverty, of neglect, of no jobs, of terrible education, of police heavy-handedness, that's the madness. All right, so he has to justify the fact that, oh my God, the blacks are really doing it to themselves. So the first thing he does is he takes an article from the Washington Post, which had already been thoroughly debunked for about 24 hours, indicating that Mr. Gray had physically hurt himself in the van, and he was the cause of his own death. That had been thoroughly debunked. And he also even presented a doctor from Fox News who indicated that that probably could never possibly have happened that way. So he sort of debunks that himself, but the rest of the stuff is just really, really egregious because he wants to continue to blame the blacks. And so he wants to make a mockery of the whole thing that he's talking about. So he goes in his sarcastic tone about, oh, you don't want to work? Well, why don't you just go ahead and sell heroin? That's okay, because that's what they do in the inner city. You want a good paying job, but you can't even stink and read? You know, how is that going to happen? You want to get paid for something, but you have an entitlement idea that the government's going to pay for everything for you. You know, you got tattoos all over the place, and you feel that you owe us money. And, of course, he uses this sarcastic thing to bring about his point that this is what black people do because they're not educated. They don't want to be educated. If you have a college job, which Billy says later on, if you have a college job, then, a college career, if you are willing to work, then you can move up. You may not get a good job at the beginning, but then you get a good job at the end. And then it doesn't talk about the thousands upon thousands of people in the United States who have college educations, who have been laid off, who've been downsized. Someone like me, I got a college degree. I mean, I'm 62. What are my chances of getting a job if I got laid off? Not very good at all. But Billy doesn't want to go into anything like that. He just wants to talk about how lazy black people are, how they have tattoos, how they sell heroin, how they don't care about getting an education, how they're disrespectful, all of that type of stuff. And again, in a very, very sarcastic way. Then he wants to go into some statistics about how police shooting of civilians from 1970 to like now, way down, again to prove his point that there is no police heavy-handedness, there's no police brutality, there's nothing going on here. Just don't pay any attention to the man behind the curtain that has the true facts. And then he goes into, again, I just find it just incredible that he would even come out something like this where he says that there is no systemic effort to keep blacks down in the United States. And I'm going, what type of world does this man live in? And he went to Harvard. That this is not a nation of white supremacists. And of course, he wants to bring in a couple people of what they said that are on liberal stations. And, you can do a lot of things when you present an argument, and if you understand the context, which I do, and understand what they're talking about. When the lady was a little upset of Obama referring to some of these children, young adults, as thugs, that was done by President Obama. The reason why people on the left are upset about Obama doing that is we have followed right-wing radio, right-wing media enough that term is now interchangeable in a lot of ways with the N-word, because on the right wing they don't really use it for just the term thug. They've expanded the definition of that for them. So it has a real connotation to the N-word. And we've seen it time and time again on the right. And of course, Billy wants to talk about all this, and he refers to them as hateful morons of what we've been seeing in Baltimore in the last couple days. He didn't talk about the fact that the last 3 days there have been extremely peaceful demonstrations. There's been an outpouring of let's just say adults, black adults, white, intermingling together, going out and asking for peace, asking for quiet, asking for let's give this thing time, let's work together, we are with you, we are one. Nothing like that comes from Billy. Nothing at all. Just wants to blame the blacks. And then the last thing is, it's now been 3 days. I haven't heard a single solution from Billy whatsoever.